It is a truly astonishing thought. For more than 150 million years, dinosaurs were the undisputed masters of our planet. They roamed every continent, from the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex in North America to the colossal Argentinosaurus in the south. These magnificent creatures, in all their wonderful shapes and sizes, seemed destined to rule forever. Their world was a vibrant green place, full of life. But then, in a single catastrophic moment, their long reign came to an abrupt and violent end. It all happened around 66 million years ago, a date etched into the very rock of our world as a time of immense change and devastation. A cosmic visitor was about to arrive, and its arrival would reshape the future of life on Earth. The visitor was an asteroid, a colossal rock traveling through the blackness of space. It was truly enormous, estimated to be about 10 kilometers or 6 miles wide, roughly the size of Mount Everest. For millions of years it had journeyed through our solar system, its path finally set on a collision course with Earth. It struck our planet in a place we now call the Yucatan Peninsula in modern-day Mexico. The impact site, hidden today beneath layers of rock and the waters of the Gulf of Mexico, is known as the Chicxulub crater. The moment of impact was unimaginably powerful, unleashing energy equivalent to billions of atomic bombs. It was an event that the planet had not experienced for a very, very long time. The immediate effects were simply cataclysmic. Upon hitting the Earth, the asteroid vaporized instantly, along with a huge chunk of the planet's crust. This created a blinding flash of light, and a fireball that expanded outwards for hundreds of kilometers, incinerating everything in its path. The sheer force of the collision sent a gigantic shockwave racing across the globe, a pulse of energy so powerful it would have flattened forests and triggered earthquakes of unimaginable magnitude on the other side of the world. It was a physical blow to the planet itself, a scar that would be felt everywhere. The sound alone would have been deafening, a roar that traveled faster than sound itself. At the same time, the impact, having struck a shallow sea, displaced a phenomenal amount of water. This generated a series of mega tsunamis, waves that were hundreds, perhaps even thousands of meters high. These colossal walls of water surged outwards from the impact site, sweeping across coastlines and flooding land far, far inland. Any creature living near the sea would have had no chance of escape. The waves would have traveled across the oceans, crashing into distant continents with devastating force hours later. The world, in a matter of minutes, had been transformed into a scene of utter chaos and destruction. The age of dinosaurs was now facing its final, terrifying moments. The horror did not end with the initial blast and the giant waves. As the asteroid and Earth's crust were vaporized, trillions of tons of superheated rock, dust, and debris were blasted high into the atmosphere. This material shot upwards, even reaching into space, before gravity pulled it back down. As these tiny pieces of molten rock re-entered the atmosphere all around the world, they heated up, glowing like countless shooting stars. This celestial light show turned the sky red-hot, heating the air to oven-like temperatures. This intense heat would have been unbearable for any animal caught out in the open, and it had another terrifying effect. It started fires. This incredible heat from the sky ignited vegetation across the planet. Vast wildfires began to rage on every continent, burning with an intensity that is difficult for us to comprehend today. Forests that had stood for thousands of years were reduced to ash in a matter of hours. The world was literally on fire. The smoke from these global firestorms billowed upwards, joining the dust and soot already clogging the air. The air would have become thick and unbreathable, filled with toxic fumes. For the dinosaurs and other creatures that survived the initial impact, this fiery landscape presented a new and deadly challenge to their survival. As the fires burned and the dust from the impact continued to spread, a thick, dark shroud began to envelop the entire planet. This enormous cloud of soot and pulverized rock was so dense that it blocked out the light of the sun. Day turned into an endless night, a twilight that would last not for days, but for months, perhaps even for years. Without sunlight reaching the Earth's surface, the planet's temperature began to fall dramatically. This period is often called an impact winter. The warm, stable climate that the dinosaurs had thrived in for millions of years was gone, replaced by a sudden and persistent cold. This prolonged darkness and cold had a catastrophic effect on the very foundation of life, the plants. Plants, from the tallest trees to the smallest phytoplankton in the oceans, need sunlight for photosynthesis. the process they used to create food. In the dim, cold world after the impact, plants could no longer survive. They withered and died on a global scale. This meant that the plant-eating dinosaurs, the herbivores, suddenly had nothing to eat. As they starved and died, the meat-eating dinosaurs, the carnivores, who preyed on them, also lost their food source. The entire food chain collapsed from the bottom up. The problems for the surviving life on Earth were far from over. The asteroid had not just struck rock, it had struck rock that was rich in sulfur. The immense heat of the impact vaporized these sulfur-rich minerals, sending vast quantities of sulfur gas into the atmosphere. Up in the sky, this sulfur mixed with water vapor to form sulfuric acid. This then fell back to Earth as toxic acid rain. This acid rain would have been strong enough to burn the leaves of any remaining plants and severely harm the skin of animals. It also changed the chemistry of the oceans, making the surface waters more acidic and incredibly dangerous for many marine creatures. Creatures with shells made of calcium carbonate, like ammonites and many types of plankton, were particularly vulnerable. The acidic water dissolved their protective shells, leading to their mass extinction in the seas. This was another devastating blow to the marine food chain, which relied on these tiny organisms at its base. On land, the acid rain would have contaminated rivers and lakes, poisoning the freshwater sources that so many animals depended on for survival. The world was not only dark and cold, but also being drenched in a chemical poison falling from the sky. It was an environment that was hostile to almost every form of life. It is important to remember that the asteroid may not have been the only cause of the dinosaurs' extinction. The planet was already experiencing some significant changes. In a part of the world that is now India, immense volcanic eruptions were taking place. These eruptions, known as the Deccan Traps, were on a scale we have never witnessed in human history. For thousands of years, they spewed enormous amounts of lava, ash, and gases into the atmosphere. These gases, including carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide, could have been slowly changing the climate, making it more unstable long before the asteroid ever arrived. Some scientists believe that these volcanic eruptions had already put the dinosaurs and other species under great stress. The gradual climate change may have been making it harder for them to find food or to adapt to new conditions. So, it is possible that the dinosaurs were already in decline. The asteroid impact, in this view, was not the single cause of their demise, but rather the final, knockout blow to an ecosystem that was already weakened and struggling. The combination of slow volcanic change and sudden asteroid impact created a perfect storm of extinction. The result of this global catastrophe was one of the most significant mass extinctions in our planet's history. It is estimated that around 75% of all species on Earth were wiped out. All of the dinosaurs, except for one group, vanished forever. The giant marine reptiles like the mosasaurs and the flying reptiles, the pterosaurs, also disappeared completely. The world fell silent. The thundering footsteps of a T-Rex and the gentle browsing of a Triceratops were no more. The planet's dominant rulers for an immense period of time were gone, leaving behind a world that was empty and scarred. But life, as it so often does, found a way. Not everything perished. In the shadows of the mighty dinosaurs had lived other smaller creatures. Among the survivors were some of our own distant ancestors, the mammals. During the age of dinosaurs, most mammals were small, shrew-like creatures, living in burrows and coming out at night to avoid being eaten. These habits proved to be their salvation. Living underground protected them from the heat of the fires and the worst of the cold. Their small size meant they needed less food to survive, and they could eat insects, roots, and anything else they could find in the ruined world. Another group that survived was a particular lineage of small feathered dinosaurs. We know them today as birds. Their ability to fly allowed them to travel vast distances to find food and escape the worst of the local environmental damage. Their beaks were adapted for eating seeds, which could lie dormant in the soil for years, providing a vital food source when plants were scarce. So, in a way, the dinosaurs never truly vanished. Their legacy lives on in the robins, eagles, and penguins that we see all around us today. They are the direct descendants of the dinosaurs that survived the Great Extinction. With the great dinosaurs gone, the world was full of new opportunities. The surviving mammals, free from the threat of their giant reptilian predators, began to evolve and diversify in remarkable ways. Over millions of years, they grew larger and adapted to fill the empty roles in the ecosystem. They became the new grazers, the new hunters, and the new swimmers. This evolutionary explosion eventually led to the incredible diversity of mammals we see today, from bats and whales to elephants and, of course, to ourselves, human beings. The day the dinosaurs disappeared was a terrible end, but it was also a spectacular new beginning.